Ahoy, this is Admiral. Welcome back to the farming channel. Not all, or even most of the time, of course, but as I've said, it's something of a familiar topic here. And why not? AoE2 farms are the core component of any land-based food economy, and indeed the only land option for the majority of civilizations in late game. But for such a key feature are lacking in visual and other forms of variety. A few civilizations enjoy a bit of post-Dark Age dietary diversity, Gurjaras with dairy, Tatars with a little lamb, Bengalis and allies with mysterious market meals, Portuguese with mass-produced Feitoria food, and Burgundians, as we might variously hypothesize, with manna from heaven, angel food cake, eggs benedict, holy mackerel, or whatever righteous repasts recurringly reappear from their religious relics. But the remaining civilizations must make do with what we might reasonably guess is the humble potato.
Potatoes!
In a future video, we might peel off some of the potato skins and dig into a deeper discussion about replacing them with regional farm skins, tied to an architecture set and depicting the most common crops of the region, which I would consider to be an immersive, intuitive, and unintrusive improvement. But today we'll simply be looking at spicing up the common fare of one or more existing or future civilizations. And the spice du jour is saffron, the red gold of the fields. Persians would have been a great candidate for this given their long-standing historical association with this spice, but after their relatively recent rework and power-up, this would require some adjustments, but may still be on the table. In medieval times, as now, saffron was a highly prized and highly priced spice, valued for its flavor as well as its real and imagined medicinal properties, and for inks and dyes, among other things. Unlike cinnamon, nutmeg, ginger, and some other spices that were expensive, at least in Europe, because they had to be imported, saffron could grow in a variety of circumstances. But it was costly due to its labor-intensive harvest and low yield, with only 3 stigmas per flower becoming the red saffron threads you'd recognize, or producing only 4 pounds per acre. And for this reason, it's still quite expensive even into the space age, where even the Admiral sometimes indulges in a few threads when making rice dishes or as herbal medicine. As for how this might work in AoE2, I envision this as an additional unique or regional farm type for existing or future civilizations. Although if you err very much on the conservative side, you might simply prefer it as a new scenario editor or campaign object, like the existing rice farm. Unlike standard farms, saffron farms would generate gold instead of food, but would cost more, produce more slowly, and take up more space, both for historical and game balance reasons.
Mandatum liking. Mandatum subscribing.
In this mod I've created, I have them taking up a rather large 5x5 tiles, the same amount of space as a Feitoria, and without the population cost, but large enough that you would need a lot of map control to make extensive use of these. I've also reduced their work rate to yield about 15 gold per minute. You'll find that this yields gold much more slowly than a gold miner or trade cart, making those the preferred sources when available. But like the Feitoria, this becomes a more tempting option than buying gold in the late game when your other sources have run dry. Perhaps they could even have a global Manaspa-like effect on your trade efficiency to make them more compelling for team games. For example, plus 3% greater trade productivity for every saffron farm up to 5. And to further balance them, they should also be more expensive than a typical farm. You might choose to have them cost a much larger amount of wood than a standard farm, but in this ideation I have them costing gold, although a combination of both wood and gold is also a valid design. But as an example, they might cost 45 gold and provide 225 gold before reseeding, meaning they take 3 minutes of working to pay for themselves, after which they yield 15 gold per minute for 12 minutes, or 180 gold before needing a reseed. This is also equivalent to a production rate of 12 gold per minute over the life of the farm, once you account for the initial cost. This is just one possible example, of course, so I won't pretend that I can present you with the perfectly balanced design without extensive testing, but I think that something along these lines might be a good starting point. So that's the beginning to how I envision the saffron farm as a possible, unique, regional, or scenario editor object to add a little more flavor to farming in AoE2. As with some of my other ideas, saffron fields could also appear as neutral objects in new or existing maps, where they might even have a higher gather rate. While they wouldn't be your first priority when gold mines or relics were still up for grabs, they'd certainly be worth harvesting once the faster sources of gold expired. So those are some of my ideas, but what do you think? Could it be an additional farm type available to Persians or some other Middle Eastern civilizations, a future civilization, or just an editor object for new maps and campaigns? You can let me know your thoughts in the comments, and remember to subscribe if you enjoy my videos. That's all for today, and thanks for watching. Till next time.